The soft beeping of the communication console was easy to ignore at first. Officer Kevin Miller had heard all kinds of random space noise during his 12 years aboard human warships. This deep and uncharted space, strange signals were common, usually just radiation bursts or echoes from distant stars. But this beep was different. It repeated in a pattern. Kevin sat up straight in his chair and adjusted his headset. Captain Wright, I'm picking up something unusual. Captain Lisa Wright looked up from her datapad. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and eyes that missed nothing. In her 15 years of service to the United Earth Fleet, she had earned a reputation for being both fair and fierce. The crew of the USS Defiant respected her more than they feared her, which was rare for a warship captain. Define unusual. Miller, she said, walking over to his station. It's a signal, ma'am, not natural and definitely not human. Kevin's fingers moved quickly across his console. I'm trying to clean it up now. The bridge crew fell silent. Humanity had been traveling the stars for nearly 50 years, but they had never found proof of other intelligent life. There had been simple organisms on Mars and Europa, and plants on a few distant planets, but nothing that could build ships or send signals. Got it, Kevin said after a moment. I think it's a voice. He pressed a button, and a strange sound filled the bridge. It wasn't exactly a voice, more like a series of clicks and hums, but it had a clear pattern that couldn't be natural. Can we translate it? The captain asked. Working on it now, replied Lieutenant Samantha Boyd, the ship's language expert. Her fingers danced across her console. The computer is finding some patterns. It might take a few minutes to create a rough translation. Captain Wright nodded. Keep at it. Navigation, what's our position? We're about 2 light years beyond the Epsilon border, Captain, answered Officer Dan Harris. This area hasn't been mapped yet. The captain frowned. The USS Defiant was a powerful warship, but its mission was simply to patrol the edges of human space and show the flag. They weren't an exploration vessel. Still, the signal was intriguing. Captain, Samantha called out. I've got a partial translation. It's definitely a distress call. The alien voice, now converted to broken English by the ship's computer, filled the bridge. Help. They destroy everything. Many dead. Please, anyone. Vraxian ships and killing all. The message repeated, growing fainter each time as if the sender was losing power or moving away. Captain Wright's face hardened. Navigation. Can you trace the signal to its source? Yes, ma'am, Dan replied. It's coming from a star system about half a light year from here. The captain paced the bridge, considering her options. Protocol was clear. Unknown signals in uncharted space should be reported back to Earth Command before taking action. But a distress call was different. All spacefaring cultures understood the duty to respond to cries for help. Set course for the source of that signal, maximum speed, she ordered. And someone wake up Chief Engineer Davis. I want our engines at full capacity. Captain, her first officer, Commander Paul Wilson, cautioned. Regulations state we should report this to Command first. Noted, Commander, Wright replied firmly. But that message mentioned destruction and death. By the time we send a report and get permission to investigate, whoever sent that call could be long dead. We have a duty to help. The order given, the bridge crew jumped into action. The massive engines of the USS Defiant hummed to life, pushing the warship through space faster than seemed possible for something its size. Jack Davis arrived on the bridge looking like he'd just rolled out of bed, which he had. The chief engineer rubbed his eyes and listened as the captain explained the situation. We're pushing the engines beyond safe limits, she concluded. Can they handle it? Jack scratched his beard thoughtfully. For a short jump, yes, but I'll need to cool them down afterward. We won't be able to make another fast jump for at least 12 hours. Understood. The captain nodded. Let's hope we don't need to. The journey took just under 5 hours. As they approached the source of the distress signal, the sensors began picking up debris. Captain, called out the sensor officer, Leah Morgan. I'm detecting a lot of wreckage ahead. Looks like ships, satellites, and space stations. Something tore through this system's orbital infrastructure. On the main screen, the image of a blue-green planet appeared. It looked similar to Earth, but with larger oceans and smaller continents. Around it floated thousands of pieces of metal and other materials, the remains of a civilization's achievements in space. Life signs? The captain asked quietly. Leah adjusted her sensors. Some on the planet, but they're scattered and faint. Whatever happened here, it was bad. Captain Wright stood from her chair. Broadcast on all frequencies. Let them know we're here to help. Kevin sent the message, but there was no response. The bridge crew watched in silence as the Defiant moved, closer to the planet, passing through fields of debris. Wait! Leah suddenly called out. I'm picking up an energy signature. It's not coming from the planet. The sensor screen showed a large object moving from behind one of the system's outer planets. It was a ship, bigger than the Defiant and shaped like a jagged arrowhead. Is it one of theirs? The captain asked, referring to the civilization that had sent the distress call. I don't think so, Leah replied. The energy signature doesn't match anything in the debris field. This is something else. Kevin's console lit up. Captain, we're being scanned. Before anyone could react, a beam of energy shot from the alien ship, striking the Defiant's hull. The warship shuddered under the impact. Shields up. Captain, Wright ordered. Battle stations. The alien vessel fired again, this time hitting one of the engine nacelles. Alarms blared across the bridge as damage reports poured in. Return fire, the captain commanded. The Defiant's weapons came online, firing bursts of energy at the alien ship. Some hit their mark, but the alien vessel seemed barely affected. Their shields are incredibly strong, Leah reported. Our weapons are only doing minimal damage. Another hit rocked the ship. Jack Davis called up from engineering, his voice tight with concern. Captain, we've lost the starboard engine. Port engine is overheating. We can't take much more of this. Captain Wright gripped the arms of her chair. All power to forward shields. Prepare to launch countermeasures. The alien ship moved closer, continuing its relentless attack. Through the barrage, Kevin picked up a transmission from the enemy vessel. He put it on the main speaker. A harsh voice spoke in broken English. Human vessel, you interfere. This world belongs to Vraxian Empire now. All resistance ends. Surrender, and become servants or be destroyed. The captain's eyes narrowed. So these are the Vraxians mentioned in the distress call. She stood up. Send them our answer, Miller. Full weapons barrage. Target their weapon systems. The Defiant unleashed everything it had, momentarily pushing back the alien vessel. Jack used the brief reprieve to reroute power through secondary systems. Captain, he called. I can give you one emergency jump. It won't be precise, and I don't know how far we'll get, but it's our only chance. Captain Wright looked at the view screen one last time, at the devastated planet they had come to help. Too late to save this world, but not too late to warn Earth. Do it, she ordered grimly. Get us out of here. The damaged warship shuddered as its emergency systems engaged. In a flash of light, the USS Defiant disappeared from the system, leaving behind a ruined civilization and a new enemy that humanity was not prepared to face. The emergency jump had saved them, but at a terrible cost. The USS Defiant drifted through unknown space, its engines silent. Emergency lights cast an eerie red glow throughout the ship as the crew worked to repair critical systems. In the medical bay, Dr. Olivia Martinez moved quickly between injured crew members. 17 people had been hurt during the attack, 6 of them seriously. Captain Wright stood in the doorway watching the doctor work. How are they? The captain asked quietly. Dr. Martinez wiped sweat from her forehead. They'll live. But Rogers and Kim need better care than I can provide with our limited supplies. Captain Wright nodded grimly. Do what you can. We're working on the communication systems now. Once we can send a message to Earth, we'll get help. And where exactly are we? The doctor asked. We don't know yet. The emergency jump took us somewhere. Jack says the engines are completely burned out. We're stuck here until we can fix them. The ship's intercom crackled. Captain, to the bridge, came Kevin Miller's voice. We've found something. When Captain Wright arrived on the bridge, the crew was gathered around the main view screen. On it was an image of what looked like a small space station, half hidden in an asteroid field. We picked it up on the long-range scanners, Kevin explained. It's not broadcasting any signals, but there's definitely power running through it. Is it Vraxian? The captain asked. Lieutenant Commander Samuel Green, who had been studying the sensor data, shook his head. I don't think so. The design is different from the ship that attacked us. Captain Wright considered their options. They needed help, supplies, possibly parts for repairs. But after their encounter with the Vraxians, approaching unknown aliens seemed risky. Take us in slowly, she decided. Full sensor sweep. First sign of trouble, we pull back. The damaged Defiant limped toward the station. As they got closer, they could see it was cobbled together from pieces of different ships and structures. It looked nothing like the sleek, aggressive design of the Vraxian vessel. I'm picking up life signs, Leah reported. Various species, none of them human. They've noticed us, Kevin added. I'm detecting scanning beams. They're locking weapons. Hold position, Captain Wright ordered. Open a channel. Kevin worked his console. Channel open. This is Captain Lisa Wright of the United Earth Fleet vessel Defiant. We come in peace, seeking assistance. Our ship is damaged, and we have injured crew members. There was no response, but the weapon locks remained active. The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. Try again, the captain said. Add that we are enemies of the Vraxian Empire. Kevin raised an eyebrow but did as ordered. As soon as he mentioned the Vraxians, the energy readings from the station changed. A harsh voice came through the speakers. Approach slowly, any sudden movements and we will fire. The captain nodded to Dan at navigation. Take us in, nice and easy. The Defiant inched toward the station. As they got closer, a docking bay opened like a mouth in the side of the structure. They're sending docking instructions, Kevin said. Follow them, ordered the captain. She turned to Commander Wilson. Prepare a security team, but weapons on stun only. We need allies, not more enemies. The docking process was tense but successful. When the airlock opened, Captain Wright and her team found themselves facing a group of aliens. They were of different species, some tall and thin with pale blue skin, others short with forearms and scaly hides. All of them held weapons. One stepped forward. It was nearly 7 feet tall with silvery skin and large dark eyes. I am Zalthor, it said in accented English. Why have you come to our sanctuary? Captain Wright explained their situation. The distress call, the Vraxian attack, their emergency jump. As she spoke, she could see the aliens exchanging glances. You fought the Vraxians and escaped? Zalthor asked, surprise evident in his voice. Few have managed such a feat. We got lucky, the captain admitted. But now we're stranded, and we have injured crew members who need medical attention. Zalthor seemed to consider this. The Vraxians are our common enemy. They have destroyed many worlds, enslaved countless species. This station is a haven for those who have escaped their empire. He gestured to the others. Every being here has lost their home to the Vraxians. We survive by staying hidden and scavenging. What we can, Commander Wilson stepped forward. Then you understand our situation. We need help to repair our ship and warn our people about the threat. Why should we help you? Asked one of the four-armed aliens. You'll bring the Vraxians down on us. We're already tracking your ship, added another. It's only a matter of time before they find this place. The argument was interrupted by Dr. Martinez's voice over the captain's communicator. Captain, Rogers is getting worse. I need supplies I don't have. Captain Wright turned to Zalthor. One of my crew is dying. Whatever you decide about helping us repair our ship, please don't let him die if you can prevent it. Something in her words seemed to reach Zalthor. He conferred briefly with the others before nodding. Your doctor may use our medical facilities, but the rest of you must remain here until we decide what to do with you. Dr. Martinez arrived with 2 crew members carrying Rogers on a stretcher. Without hesitation, she began working alongside alien medical staff to treat her patient. The refugees watched in surprise as she confidently handled their equipment and communicated with their medical officer. Your doctor shows no fear of working with other species, Zalthor commented. She's a healer, Captain Wright replied simply. That comes first before any differences. Hours passed as the refugees debated what to do with the humans. Meanwhile, Captain Wright asked for permission to bring Jack Davis to examine their repair facilities. Reluctantly, Zalthor agreed. Jack's eyes widened as he was shown the station's maintenance bay. "This is incredible," he said, examining a piece of technology. "I've never seen anything like it. Salvaged from a Corvalian ship," explained one of the refugees. "They were among the first to fall to the Vraxians." Back in the meeting area, Samuel Green had been talking with various refugees, learning about the Vraxian Empire. "Captain," he reported, "from what I've gathered, the Vraxians have conquered dozens of systems. They either enslave the populations or eliminate them entirely." "But why attack Earth?" Captain Wright asked. "We've never encountered them before." "That's the interesting part," Samuel replied. "Apparently, they intercepted some of our broadcasts, entertainment, news, history. They decided humans were too dangerous to be allowed to develop further." "Dangerous?" Commander Wilson looked confused. "We've barely left our own solar system." One of the refugees, a small being with bird-like features, spoke up. "Vraxians fear what they don't understand. Your species fights among itself yet unites against outside threats. You adapt quickly, you are unpredictable. To the Vraxians, these traits make you a potential threat." Dr. Martinez returned from the medical bay, looking tired but satisfied. "Rogers will recover," she announced. "Their medical technology is amazing. It could save thousands of lives on Earth." Zalthor had been watching these interactions carefully. Finally, he approached Captain Wright. "We have decided," he said. "We will help you repair your ship." A murmur of disagreement rose from some of the refugees, but Zalthor silenced them with a gesture. "I have seen how you care for your people, how your doctor works to save lives regardless of species. Perhaps," he hesitated, "perhaps humans are what we have been waiting for, a species that can stand against the Vraxians." Captain Wright extended her hand in the human gesture of agreement. After a moment's hesitation, Zalthor took it. "We will help you return to your home," he said, "and perhaps you will help us reclaim ours." Captain Wright nodded solemnly. "If the Vraxians are a threat to Earth, they're a threat to all free people. I think this is the beginning of an important alliance." For the first time since the attack, hope spread through the crew of the Defiant. They were still far from home, in unknown space with a powerful enemy hunting them. But now they were no longer alone. 2 weeks had passed since the USS Defiant found the refugee station. The damaged warship now looked very different. Alien technology covered parts of its hull like shiny patches on old clothing. Inside, the changes were even more striking. Jack Davis stood in engineering watching as Zalthor's technicians installed a new power system. "This is amazing," he said, shaking his head in wonder. "We would have taken decades to develop something like this on Earth." "Necessity creates innovation," Zalthor replied. "When your home is destroyed, you learn to adapt with whatever you can find." The repairs were nearly complete. The ship's engines now ran on a hybrid system combining human technology with components from 5 different alien cultures. Jack had learned more in 2 weeks than in his entire 20-year career. On the bridge, Captain Wright reviewed their planned route home with Science Officer Amy Peterson. The young officer had quickly formed a bond with the refugees, learning about their various technologies and cultures. "The most direct route would take us through this sector," Amy said, pointing to the star map. "But the refugees say it's heavily patrolled by Vraxian ships." "What are our alternatives?" the captain asked. Amy traced a different path with her finger. "This route is longer, but safer, except for this part here." She circled an area on the map. "We'd have to pass through a nebula the refugees call the Veil. They say it's controlled by another species called the Corvalians. Are they hostile?" "Unknown. They're also running from the Vraxians, but they don't trust outsiders. The refugees have never made contact with them." Captain Wright considered their options. The Defiant was stronger now, but still no match for a Vraxian fleet, and their mission was crucial. They needed to warn Earth about the coming threat. "The nebula route it is," she decided. "Prepare the crew for departure. We leave tomorrow." That evening, the humans held a small ceremony to thank the refugees for their help. Dr. Martinez had taught the station's medical staff about human treatments, while the humans had learned about alien medicine. Jack and his engineers had shared Earth technology, receiving far more advanced knowledge in return. "We will not forget your kindness," Captain Wright told Zalthor. "When we reach Earth, we will tell our leaders about the Vraxian threat and about your people. We'll return with help." Zalthor nodded solemnly. "The Vraxians fear your kind. Perhaps they are right to do so." Just before the Defiant departed, Zalthor made a surprising announcement. "I will join you on your journey." Captain Wright blinked in surprise. "Are you sure? The journey will be dangerous." "My knowledge of Vraxian tactics may help you avoid them," Zalthor explained. "And if you succeed in reaching your world, I wish to speak directly to your leaders about an alliance." So it was that the USS Defiant set off toward Earth with one additional crew member. Their journey would take them through largely uncharted space with dangers they could only guess at. For the first few days, they traveled without incident. The improved engines worked better than expected, and the ship's new sensors detected no threats. Then they reached the edge of the nebula known as the Veil. From a distance, it looked like a beautiful cloud of purple and blue gases. But the closer they got, the more it resembled a storm, swirling with energy discharges and magnetic fluctuations. "Sensors can't penetrate more than a few kilometers into it," Amy reported. "We'll be flying blind in there." "The Corvalians use the nebula's properties to hide from the Vraxians," Zalthor added. "They may have defenses we cannot detect until we are upon them." Captain Wright turned to Tactical Officer Frank Johnson. "Opinions?" Frank had been studying the nebula with a thoughtful expression. "It's perfect for ambushes and surprise attacks. If I were defending this space, I'd use the gas clouds for cover and hit any intruders before they knew what was happening." "Then we need to show we're not a threat," the captain decided. "Kevin, broadcast on all frequencies. Make it clear we're passing through, not invading." Kevin sent the message, but there was no response. The Defiant moved slowly into the nebula, its shields modified to withstand the energy discharges that occasionally struck the hull. 2 hours into the nebula, the sensors detected movement. "Multiple objects approaching," Leah called out. "Small, fast-moving vessels. They're surrounding us." Before anyone could react, the ship shuddered as something attached to the hull. "We're being boarded," Commander Wilson shouted. Just as the lights flickered, Captain Wright grabbed her communicator. "Security teams to all decks, repel boarders but don't use lethal force unless necessary." The bridge doors slid open and 3 figures rushed in. They were humanoid but with scaled skin in various shades of green and blue. Each had 4 eyes and wore armor that seemed to shift colors to match their surroundings. Frank reacted instantly, diving for cover while drawing his weapon. He fired a stun blast that caught one of the intruders by surprise. The other 2 fired back with weapons that shot bursts of energy that clung to surfaces like burning gel. "Stop!" Captain Wright shouted, standing tall despite the danger. "We are not your enemies." Zalthor stepped forward, hands raised, and spoke in a language of clicks and whistles. The intruders paused, clearly surprised to see his species. "They are Corvalians," Zalthor explained quickly. "I told them we are fleeing the Vraxians, not serving them." The standoff continued for tense moments, until one of the Corvalians lowered its weapon slightly and made a series of clicking sounds. "They want proof we fight against the Vraxians," Zalthor translated. Captain Wright nodded to Kevin. "Show them the recording of our battle." Kevin brought up the sensor logs of their encounter with the Vraxian ship on the main screen. The Corvalians watched with their 4 eyes blinking in different patterns, a sign of interest according to Zalthor. When the recording ended, the lead Corvalian made a decision. It spoke to Zalthor, who turned to the captain with relief in his voice. "They will escort us to their main outpost. Their leader wishes to speak with you." The Corvalian outpost was larger than the refugee station, built into a massive asteroid at the heart of the nebula. The Defiant docked under escort, and Captain Wright, along with a small team including Frank, Amy, and Zalthor, was taken to meet the Corvalian leader. The leader was larger than the others, with deep blue scales and 6 eyes instead of 4. It studied the humans with open curiosity before speaking through a translation device. "You fought the Vraxians and escaped," it said, the translator making its voice sound metallic. "Few have done this." "How?" Frank stepped forward. "The Vraxians rely on overwhelming power and predictable tactics. We used unconventional maneuvers and targeted their weapon systems instead of trying to destroy their ship outright." This seemed to interest the Corvalian leader. It asked Frank to explain in detail how he would fight a Vraxian patrol if encountered again. As Frank outlined his ideas for using the nebula's properties to confuse Vraxian sensors and create false targets, the Corvalians grew excited. They had been fighting a defensive war for years, never able to take the initiative against their powerful enemy. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the outpost. A Corvalian rushed in, speaking rapidly to the leader. "Vraxian patrol ships have entered the nebula," Zalthor translated. "They must have followed us." The Corvalian leader turned to Captain Wright. "Now we will see if your tactical officers' ideas work in practice." What followed was a frantic preparation as Frank worked with the Corvalian defenders to implement his strategy. The Defiant joined 3 Corvalian ships in setting up an ambush. The battle was brief but intense. Frank's unconventional tactics confused the Vraxian ships, which were used to enemies that either fled or fought head-on. Instead, the combined human Corvalian force used the nebula's gases to hide, struck from unexpected angles, and focused fire on weapon systems rather than trying to destroy the larger vessels. In the end, 2 Vraxian ships retreated, and 1 was disabled. The victory came at a cost. 1 Corvalian ship was destroyed, and Frank was severely injured when a console exploded on the Defiant's bridge. As Dr. Martinez fought to save Frank's life, the Corvalian leader made an unexpected offer to Captain Wright. "Your people fight like none we have seen before," it said. "We will help you reach your homeworld. And when you return to fight the Vraxians, the Corvalians will stand with you." Captain Wright looked at her injured tactical officer, then at the determined faces of her crew. The journey home was still long and dangerous, but they were no longer alone. With each step, they gathered allies for the coming war. "We accept your help," she told the Corvalian leader, "and we welcome your alliance. Together, we'll show the Vraxians they've made a terrible mistake in making enemies of humans." 3 months after leaving Earth on what should have been a routine patrol, the USS Defiant approached the outer edge of human space. The ship was barely recognizable. Its hull now featured technology from 6 different alien species. The inside was even more changed, with strange devices connected to human computers and new systems that no Earth engineer had ever seen. Captain Lisa Wright stood on the bridge, watching as the familiar stars of home came into view on the main screen. Earth was still days away, but for the first time she allowed herself to feel true relief. They had made it back, at least this far. "Send the message to Earth Command," she ordered Kevin. "Use the special frequency." Kevin nodded. The message was brief but would shake the foundations of human civilization. "Earth Command, this is USS Defiant. We have made first contact with multiple alien species. Be advised. Hostile alien empire known as Vraxians is likely to target Earth. Request immediate meeting with Defense Council upon arrival. We have allies with us." The last part was important. Zalthor stood quietly at the back of the bridge, his tall silver form drawing occasional glances from the crew. Though they had worked together for months, the sight of a non-human was still striking. How would Earth react to seeing him? "Message sent," Kevin reported. "Given the distance, we should receive a response in about 40 minutes. Those 40 minutes felt like years. The crew continued their duties, but everyone was tense. Finally, Kevin's console beeped. "Response from Earth Command," he announced, putting it on the main speakers. "USS Defiant, this is Admiral Richard Bennett. Your message is concerning. Proceed directly to Lunar Base Alpha. Do not approach Earth until cleared. Bennett out." Captain Wright wasn't surprised by the caution. "Set course for Lunar Base Alpha," she ordered. "Standard approach." The next few days were filled with anxiety and anticipation. When they finally reached the moon, they found 6 heavily armed Earth warships waiting for them. "They're scanning us," Kevin reported, "multiple times. They've probably never seen these alien modifications before." "Let them look," the captain replied calmly. "They need to understand what we're up against." After hours of scans and questions, the Defiant was finally allowed to dock at Lunar Base Alpha. A heavily armed security team met them at the airlock, led by Admiral Bennett himself. The Admiral was a tall, stern man with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Captain Wright," he said formally. "Your report indicated you have aliens aboard?" "Yes, sir. One representative, Zalthor, from a species whose world was destroyed by the Vraxians. He has been instrumental in helping us return home." The Admiral's expression didn't change. "I'll need to meet this Zalthor, and my technical teams will need to inspect your ship. These modifications are unprecedented." "Of course, sir. But I urge you to listen to what we've learned. The threat is real and likely heading our way even now." The Admiral nodded curtly. Briefing room, 1 hour. The meeting that followed was tense. Admiral Bennett and the United Earth Defense Council listened as Captain Wright, her officers, and Zalthor explained everything they had learned about the Vraxians. They showed recordings of the battle, data on Vraxian weapons, and evidence of destroyed civilizations. "You expect us to believe that an alien empire we've never heard of is coming to attack Earth based on watching our television shows?" one council member asked skeptically. "Not just entertainment," Amy Peterson explained patiently. "They intercepted our military communications, our news broadcasts showing conflicts between nations, our historical records of warfare. They saw humanity's capacity for violence and determined we would be a threat if allowed to expand into space." "They aren't wrong," another council member commented dryly. Zalthor stepped forward. "The Vraxians conquer through overwhelming force and fear. They have never encountered a species like humans before. You adapt quickly. You think in ways they do not understand. This makes you dangerous to them." Admiral Bennett had been silent, studying the evidence carefully. Finally, he spoke. "Captain Wright, your crew will be debriefed individually. In the meantime, our scientist will examine the technology you've brought back. If your report is accurate, we need to prepare." Over the following weeks, Earth's response shifted from skepticism to grim determination. As each crew member confirmed, the captain's report and more alien technology was studied. The reality of the threat became impossible to ignore. The United Earth Defense Council declared a global military alert. Old rivalries between nations were set aside as humanity faced its first extraterrestrial threat. Resources were diverted to upgrading the Earth fleet with the new technologies. Jack Davis found himself leading a team of Earth's top engineers, adapting the alien systems for mass production. "The Vraxian ships are bigger and more powerful," he explained during a briefing with military leaders. "But with these shield modifications and weapon enhancements, we can level the playing field." Dr. Martinez worked with medical teams, sharing the advanced treatments she had learned. "Their biology is different from ours," she told a room full of doctors, "but the principles are similar, and some of their medical technology is decades ahead of ours." Intelligence Officer Nicole Baker had been analyzing all available data on the Vraxians. Her team worked day and night to understand their tactics, psychology, and weaknesses. "They're methodical," she reported to Admiral Bennett. "They follow set patterns in battle, rarely deviating even when those patterns aren't working. They've conquered so many worlds that they've become overconfident. Can we exploit that?" the Admiral asked. Nicole nodded. "Absolutely. Their predictability is their greatest weakness against humans. We're naturally unpredictable and adaptable. If we can surprise them, confuse them, we have a chance." Meanwhile, Zalthor met with Earth's leaders, forming the foundation for an unprecedented alliance. Through him, communication was established with the refugee station and the Corvalians. Ships were dispatched to bring more representatives to Earth and to help protect those who had helped the Defiant. Captain Wright watched all this with pride in her crew and her species. Humans were taking the threat seriously but weren't panicking. Instead, they were doing what humans did best, adapting, preparing, and uniting against a common enemy. 3 months after the Defiant's return, Earth's defenses had been transformed. The fleet had been retrofitted with alien technology. New weapons had been developed specifically to target Vraxian weaknesses. A detection network spread throughout the solar system, designed to provide early warning of any approach. Admiral Bennett called Captain Wright to his office at Earth Command headquarters. The room had a large window with a view of the newly constructed shipyards where vessels of all sizes were being built or upgraded. "Captain," he said without preamble, "our long-range sensors have detected unusual energy signatures at the edge of the solar system. Intelligence believes it's an advanced scout force for the Vraxians. Wright had been expecting this. How long do we have?" "Best estimate?" 2 weeks before the main fleet arrives." He handed her a data pad. "You've been given command of our newest ship, the USS Valiant. It incorporates everything we've learned from your encounter and the alien technologies you brought back." Captain Wright looked at the specifications with widening eyes. The Valiant was twice the size of the Defiant, with integrated systems from all their new allies. "We need your experience out there," the Admiral continued. "You've fought them before. You know what we're up against." The captain nodded. "I'll need to select my crew. Already approved. Your core team from the Defiant, plus the best we have to offer." He paused. "Zalthor has requested to join you as well." "Good. His knowledge will be valuable." As she left the Admiral's office, Captain Wright looked at the bustling activity around her. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, all working together, with a single purpose. Aliens walked among humans as allies and friends. In a matter of months, Earth had changed more than it had in centuries. The Vraxians were coming, believing they faced a primitive species that would be easily conquered. What they would find instead was a united planet, prepared and determined, with technology equal to their own and allies who had scores to settle. Captain Wright smiled grimly as she headed to meet her new ship. The Vraxians had no idea what they were about to face. The Vraxian armada appeared at the edge of the solar system exactly as predicted. 47 massive warships, each one larger than anything humans had built before. They moved in perfect formation, their weapons already charged, ready to conquer yet another world that would soon join their growing empire. High Commander Dreknar stood on the bridge of the largest vessel, staring at the image of the blue planet on his view screen. Earth, home to the dangerous species that had somehow escaped, their first encounter. His orders were clear: subdue the humans quickly or eliminate them entirely. "They have primitive defenses," his second-in-command reported. "Only a small fleet of warships, mostly gathered around their moon." Dreknar nodded. "As expected. Begin the approach." Standard conquest formation. But the humans were not following the standard script for a species facing conquest. Instead of panicking or launching a desperate frontal attack, the Earth fleet held position, waiting. Captain Lisa Wright stood on the bridge of the USS Valiant, watching the Vraxian ships approach on the main screen. Beside her, Zalthor studied their formation. "They are using their standard approach," he noted. "They expect us to either attack directly or attempt to flee." "Then let's surprise them," Captain Wright replied with a small smile. She opened a channel to the rest of the Earth fleet. "All ships execute Plan Jupiter." The Earth vessels suddenly broke formation, but instead of charging toward the enemy, they retreated deeper into the solar system. The Vraxian fleet followed exactly as predicted. "They're taking the bait," Kevin Miller reported from his communications station. As the Vraxian ships passed the orbit of Mars, the trap was sprung. Seemingly out of nowhere, dozens of small ships appeared from hiding places in the asteroid belt. These weren't warships, but modified mining vessels equipped with powerful tractor beams and gravity generators, salvaged from alien technology. The mining ships targeted the smaller Vraxian vessels, pulling them off course and disrupting their perfect formation. At the same time, large defense platforms hidden on several moons activated, launching waves of missiles. "Formation broken," Nicole Baker announced from Tactical. "Their smaller ships are scattered. Phase 2 now." The Earth fleet stopped their retreat and divided into 3 groups. One group headed for Jupiter, leading several Vraxian ships into the gas giant's powerful gravity well. There, the human ships used the planet's gravity to perform maneuvers that the larger Vraxian vessels couldn't match. 2 enemy ships collided, while 3 more took heavy damage from the Earth vessels' precisely targeted shots. The second group engaged the center of the Vraxian fleet, but instead of firing at the ships, they targeted specific systems, weapons, engines, and sensors. It was Frank Johnson's strategy, executed perfectly. The Vraxians, used to enemies trying to destroy their ships outright, were confused by these precise attacks that left their vessels intact but unable to fight effectively. The third group, led by the Valiant, headed straight for Dreknar's command ship. Engineer Davis, Captain Wright called, "Give me everything the engines have got." "They're already beyond specs, Captain," Jack replied, his voice tense with concentration. "But I can give you 2 minutes at maximum before the systems overload." 2 minutes is all we need. The Valiant shot forward at incredible speed, evading the command ship's defensive fire with maneuvers no Vraxian captain would attempt. They aimed not for the ship itself, but for its communication array, the link that coordinated the entire fleet. Dreknar watched in growing horror as his perfect invasion fell apart. These humans fought like no species he had ever encountered. They used their smaller ships as advantages rather than weaknesses. They targeted systems instead of attempting to destroy whole ships. They used the environment, planets, moons, asteroids, as weapons and shields. "Target that human ship," he ordered frantically as the Valiant approached. But it was too late. The Valiant fired all weapons at once, overloading its own systems in the process, but successfully destroying the command ship's communication array. Instantly, the Vraxian fleet lost its coordination. Without central command, each ship began acting independently, making them vulnerable to the united human-alien force. 3 hours later, it was over. The remaining Vraxian ships retreated, leaving behind their damaged and captured vessels. Earth had won its first interstellar battle. In the aftermath, as the Valiant limped back to Earth, Captain Wright stood with Zalthor, watching their homeworld grow larger on the viewscreen. "This is only the beginning," she said quietly. "They'll be back." "Yes," Zalthor agreed. "But next time, they will approach with fear. For now, the message spreading across the galaxy is clear." He paused. "Brace yourself. A human warship is approaching fast, and for those under Vraxian rule, that message brings hope."